Somewhere behind the cheering crowds and the roaring stadiums, a much quieter game is being played with numbers instead of goals. Behind every ticket sold and every jersey purchased, an entire hidden financial system quietly operates, shaping football far more than most fans ever realize. Billions of dollars flow through the FIFA World Cup every single tournament, yet almost nobody outside a boardroom ever sees where that money actually goes. Who really profits from the biggest sporting event on the planet, and does any of that fortune genuinely reach the fans, the players, or the host communities themselves? In this video, we are pulling back the curtain on football's hidden money machine, tracing every dollar from broadcast deals to sponsorship contracts. By the end, you will never watch a World Cup broadcast the same way again, because now you will see the business behind the beauty. Let us start with the basics, understanding exactly how FIFA generates the almost unimaginable wealth this tournament produces every 4 years. This financial ecosystem touches everything from the boots players wear to the stadiums fans fill, connecting commerce and sport in ways rarely discussed openly. Understanding this hidden machine transforms how you watch every single match, revealing layers of strategy and calculation behind every broadcast decision. FIFA, the governing body behind the World Cup, is technically a non-profit organization registered under Swiss law in Zurich. Despite this non-profit status, FIFA generated over $7 billion in revenue during the 4-year cycle leading into Qatar 2022 alone. The overwhelming majority of this revenue comes from 3 primary sources: broadcasting rights, sponsorship deals, and licensing agreements worldwide. Television networks around the world pay enormous sums for the exclusive right to broadcast World Cup matches to their national audiences. In some countries, broadcasting rights for a single World Cup tournament have sold for hundreds of millions of dollars. This money flows directly into FIFA's coffers long before a single ball is even kicked on the tournament pitch. Interestingly, wealthier nations with larger television markets often negotiate significantly better broadcasting terms compared to smaller countries with limited advertising revenue potential. This disparity means fans in different countries effectively pay very different amounts, directly or indirectly, to watch the exact same football matches. Sponsorship deals form the second massive pillar of FIFA's revenue empire, with major global brands paying enormous fees for exposure. Companies like Adidas, Coca-Cola, Visa, and Qatar Airways have paid hundreds of millions of dollars for official partnership status. These sponsorships grant brands exclusive advertising rights, stadium signage, and association with the most watched sporting event on Earth. Licensing revenue generated through video, games, merchandise, and branded products adds yet another substantial stream to FIFA's already massive income. Combined, these 3 revenue sources create a financial machine that dwarfs the budgets of many small nations around the world. To put this in perspective, FIFA's 4-year revenue often exceeds the entire annual gross domestic product of several small island nations combined. This financial scale means decisions made inside FIFA headquarters carry weight far beyond simple sporting considerations, touching global economics and diplomacy. Regional broadcasting deals are negotiated separately for different continents, meaning African, Asian, European, and American networks all pay dramatically different rates. This regional pricing structure reflects varying market sizes, advertising potential, and historical football viewership patterns across different parts of the world. Digital streaming rights have recently become an entirely new revenue category, as younger audiences increasingly watch matches through mobile devices and apps. FIFA has aggressively pursued these digital partnerships, recognizing that traditional television viewership patterns are rapidly shifting toward on-demand streaming platforms globally. Younger audiences increasingly consume football highlights through social media clips rather than watching entire matches live, creating new monetization challenges for FIFA. Short-form content licensing has emerged as a growing revenue category, as platforms pay for rights to share official highlights, interviews, and behind-the-scenes footage. So where does all this staggering revenue actually go once it enters FIFA's financial system each tournament cycle? A significant portion is redistributed to member associations, the national football federations representing every country in global football. FIFA claims this redistribution supports grassroots football development, youth programs, and infrastructure improvements across underfunded footballing nations worldwide. However, critics have long questioned whether this money actually reaches grassroots programs or simply disappears into administrative costs and questionable spending. Prize money for participating teams represents another major expenditure, with the total prize pool for 2026 expected to exceed previous tournaments significantly. The winning nation typically receives tens of millions of dollars, while even teams eliminated in the group stage receive substantial consolation payments. This prize money is often split between football federations and players, though the exact distribution varies dramatically from country to country. Some players' unions have negotiated fixed percentages guaranteed to athletes, while other federations retain complete discretion over how prize money gets distributed internally. This lack of standardization across different football nations creates significant inequality in how much individual players actually benefit from their World Cup performances. Host nation infrastructure costs represent perhaps the most controversial expenditure category in the entire World Cup financial ecosystem. Qatar reportedly spent over $200 billion preparing for the 2022 World Cup, an almost unimaginable figure for a single sporting event. This included building entirely new stadiums, transportation systems, hotels, and infrastructure projects across the small nation in just over a decade. Critics argue this spending pattern creates enormous debt burdens for host nations, particularly smaller countries without existing large-scale sporting infrastructure. Russia, similarly, spent over $11 billion preparing for the 2018 World Cup, building stadiums in cities that had never hosted major international football before. These infrastructure investments are often justified as long-term economic benefits, yet many stadiums built specifically for World Cup matches struggle to find sustainable use afterward. The 2026 tournament largely avoids this problem, since the United States already possesses extensive existing stadium infrastructure from American football and other major sports. This existing infrastructure advantage significantly reduces construction costs compared to previous host nations that built entirely new venues from scratch. Let us examine a specific example of how grassroots funding is meant to work within FIFA's redistribution model for member nations. A small football federation in a developing nation might receive several million dollars annually from FIFA's development fund for youth programs and coaching education. In theory, this money builds football pitches, trains local coaches, and provides equipment for children who might otherwise never access organized football. However, investigative journalists have documented numerous cases where development funds were allegedly misused, diverted, or simply unaccounted for by national federations. One notable investigation revealed that funds intended for youth football infrastructure in certain nations were instead used for unrelated administrative expenses and executive travel. These revelations have fueled ongoing calls for FIFA to implement stricter oversight and auditing requirements for how member associations spend development funding. Some football development experts argue that direct funding to grassroots organizations, bypassing national federations entirely, might prove more effective and transparent overall. This debate about accountability continues shaping conversations about football governance reform heading into the expanded 2026 tournament and beyond. Journalists and independent auditors increasingly demand real-time financial disclosure from FIFA, arguing that transparency should match the tournament's massive global commercial scale. Some football governance experts have proposed creating an independent oversight body entirely separate from FIFA to monitor how development funds are actually spent. Now here's where the money machine becomes genuinely fascinating, and where most fans have absolutely no idea what happens behind closed doors. FIFA officials and executives have historically received substantial salaries and bonuses, a fact that sparked one of football's biggest scandals ever. In 2015, the FIFA corruption scandal exposed widespread bribery, kickbacks, and financial misconduct among top football officials worldwide. Multiple FIFA executives were arrested, indicted, and eventually banned from football for accepting bribes related to World Cup hosting decisions. This scandal revealed that hosting rights for major tournaments had allegedly been influenced by secret payments rather than purely footballing merit. The investigation, led by United States authorities, uncovered a shocking pattern of corruption spanning multiple decades and dozens of football officials. Sepp Blatter, FIFA's president for nearly 2 decades, was eventually forced to resign amid the fallout from this massive scandal. This corruption scandal permanently changed how fans and journalists view FIFA's financial operations, adding deep skepticism to every subsequent announcement. Even today, transparency advocates argue that FIFA's financial reporting remains difficult to fully audit and verify independently. The 2015 arrests occurred in dramatic fashion, with Swiss police raiding a luxury hotel in Zurich where FIFA officials were staying. This raid, timed just before FIFA's annual Congress, sent shockwaves through the football world and dominated international news headlines for weeks. Investigators uncovered evidence suggesting that hosting votes for both the 2018 and 2022 World Cups may have been influenced by improper payments. Qatar's successful 2022 hosting bid faced particularly intense scrutiny, with allegations of vote buying surrounding the small nation's surprising selection. FIFA has consistently denied that Qatar's selection involved any wrongdoing, though independent investigations continue examining the circumstances surrounding that historic vote. This scandal ultimately led to significant governance reforms within FIFA, including term limits for executives and increased financial transparency requirements. Despite these reforms, many football journalists remain skeptical about whether genuine cultural change has actually occurred within FIFA's institutional structure. Let us explore some genuinely surprising facts about the money machine that powers this tournament every single cycle. The 2026 World Cup is projected to generate over $11 billion in total revenue, making it the most profitable tournament in history. This represents a staggering increase compared to previous tournaments, driven largely by the expanded 48-team format and additional matches. Host cities across the United States, Mexico, and Canada are expected to generate significant local economic activity through tourism and hospitality spending. However, economists remain deeply divided on whether hosting a World Cup actually benefits local economies in any meaningful, long-term way. Several economic studies of previous host nations found that promised economic benefits often failed to materialize as originally projected by organizers. Brazil spent an estimated $15 billion hosting the 2014 World Cup, yet many of the stadiums built now sit largely unused today. This phenomenon, known as white elephant stadiums, has become a recurring criticism of World Cup hosting arrangements across multiple continents. South Africa faced similar criticism after hosting in 2010, with several stadiums requiring expensive ongoing maintenance despite minimal post-tournament usage. Cape Town Stadium alone reportedly costs several $1 million annually in maintenance, despite hosting only a handful of major events since 2010. These recurring maintenance costs represent a hidden, long-term financial burden that rarely appears in initial tournament budget projections presented to the public. Meanwhile, players themselves often receive a surprisingly small percentage of the overall revenue generated by their labor and performances. Prize money is typically split between football federations and players, with federations frequently retaining the larger portion of these payments. This has sparked ongoing debates about fair compensation for the athletes who ultimately make the entire tournament possible. Some star players have publicly criticized the system, arguing that federations profit far more from a player's performance than the player receives directly. These public criticisms have occasionally sparked broader labor movements within football, pushing for greater financial transparency between federations and their national team players. FIFPro, the Global Players Union, has repeatedly called for greater transparency regarding how prize money is actually distributed among squad members. Some national federations have faced public criticism for allegedly withholding fair shares of World Cup prize money from their own players. Meanwhile, the gender pay gap between men's and women's World Cup prize money remains a significant and ongoing controversy within football. The 2023 Women's World Cup offered substantially less prize money than the men's tournament, despite growing viewership and commercial interest in women's football. FIFA has pledged to work toward equal pay between men's and women's tournaments, though significant gaps still remain heading into future competitions. Merchandise sales represent another fascinating revenue stream, with official World Cup products generating hundreds of millions of dollars in additional income. Replica jerseys alone often account for tens of millions of dollars in sales during a single World Cup cycle worldwide. Stadium naming rights and hospitality packages represent yet another significant revenue category that many casual fans rarely consider or notice. Corporate hospitality suites at World Cup matches can cost tens of thousands of dollars per match, offering premium viewing experiences for wealthy clients and executives. These hospitality packages often include exclusive lounges, gourmet catering, and guaranteed prime seating locations throughout the stadium. During matches, airlines and hotel chains also generate substantial revenue through official partnership deals, capitalizing on the massive travel demand World Cup tournaments generate globally. Official World Cup video games, produced through licensing partnerships, generate additional revenue streams while simultaneously promoting the tournament to younger, digitally engaged audiences. This multi-layered revenue ecosystem demonstrates just how deeply commercialized the modern World Cup has become across nearly every possible touchpoint. Broadcasting deals deserve special attention here, since they represent the single largest revenue source in FIFA's entire financial structure. American broadcaster Fox paid over $400 million for exclusive English-language broadcasting rights covering both the 2018 and 2022 tournaments. European broadcasting rights have similarly commanded enormous sums, with multiple networks competing fiercely for exclusive access to World Cup coverage. Streaming platforms have also entered this competitive space, recognizing the massive audience engagement that World Cup matches consistently generate worldwide. This competition between traditional broadcasters and streaming services has driven broadcasting fees even higher heading into the 2026 tournament cycle. Advertising revenue during broadcasts adds yet another layer to this financial ecosystem, with 30-second commercial slots costing millions of dollars during marquee matches. Companies eagerly pay these enormous sums because World Cup matches consistently rank among the most watched television events in human history. Regional advertisers also participate heavily, purchasing localized commercial spots that air only within specific countries or broadcasting territories worldwide. This layered advertising structure means a single match broadcast might contain dozens of different advertisements depending on which country is watching. Betting companies have increasingly become major sponsors and advertisers during World Cup broadcasts, reflecting the massive growth of sports betting globally. This partnership between football and betting companies has itself become controversial, with critics worried about gambling normalization among younger viewers. Video assistant referee technology, introduced to improve officiating accuracy, also required significant financial investment from FIFA to implement across all venues. This technology investment represents another often overlooked expense within the broader financial machine, powering the modern World Cup experience. So why does understanding this hidden money machine actually matter to ordinary football fans watching from their homes? Awareness of these financial realities helps fans understand why certain decisions get made, from stadium locations to controversial hosting selections. When fans understand that billions of dollars influence tournament decisions, they can better evaluate claims made by FIFA officials and organizing committees. This financial transparency, or lack thereof, directly impacts how football as a sport evolves, grows, and serves communities around the world. Money influences which nations get selected as hosts, which broadcasters win exclusive deals, and even which sponsors receive premium placement. Understanding these financial forces empowers fans to ask harder questions about fairness, transparency, and accountability within football's governing institutions. It also helps explain persistent criticisms about worker conditions during stadium construction, environmental impact, and genuine community benefit from hosting tournaments. The beautiful game exists within a massive financial machine, and understanding that machine helps fans appreciate football's full complexity. This knowledge does not diminish the joy of watching football, but it adds crucial context to the spectacle we all love. Consider how ticket pricing works, since dynamic pricing models mean the most desirable matches often cost significantly more than early group stage fixtures. Resale markets for World Cup tickets have also become a massive secondary economy, with some tickets reselling for many times their original face value. Local businesses in host cities, from restaurants to hotels, often experience temporary economic booms during the tournament, though benefits vary dramatically by location. Small business owners in previous host cities have reported mixed experiences, with some seeing genuine growth, while others saw minimal impact from tournament tourism. Understanding these economic ripple effects helps fans appreciate the complex relationship between global sporting events and local community economics. This complexity extends to labor practices as well, since stadium construction and hospitality services require enormous workforces during preparation periods. Qatar faced significant international criticism regarding migrant worker conditions during World Cup stadium construction, sparking global conversations about labor rights and accountability. As the 2026 World Cup approaches, this financial machine continues growing larger, more complex, and more scrutinized than ever before. Will increased transparency measures implemented after the 2015 corruption scandal actually prevent future financial misconduct within football's governing body? Will the promised economic benefits for host cities across 3 nations actually materialize, or will History simply repeat familiar patterns. Only time will reveal whether this massive financial machine ultimately serves football's growth or primarily serves the interests of its wealthiest stakeholders. What remains certain is that billions of dollars will change hands throughout this tournament, shaping decisions far beyond what happens on the pitch. Football fans deserve to understand this hidden economic reality, because informed fans make football's governing institutions more accountable and transparent overall. The next time you watch a World Cup match, remember that every commercial break, every stadium shot, and every broadcast represents genuine financial calculation. Understanding the money behind the magic does not ruin football, it simply reveals the full picture behind the beautiful game we cherish. Perhaps the most important lesson from this financial journey is that football, despite its massive commercial scale, still ultimately depends on genuine human passion and connection. No amount of sponsorship money or broadcasting revenue can manufacture the pure joy of watching your national team score a dramatic goal. Yet that same passion is precisely what makes football such valuable commercial territory, since genuine emotion drives genuine viewership and engagement worldwide. This creates a fascinating tension between football as pure sporting passion and football as a massive global commercial enterprise generating billions. As fans, understanding this tension helps us engage more critically with the sport we love without necessarily losing our genuine enthusiasm. We can celebrate incredible goals and dramatic victories while still asking important questions about fairness, transparency, and accountability within football's institutions. This balanced perspective ultimately makes us better, more informed fans, capable of appreciating both the beauty and the business simultaneously. Future reforms within FIFA will likely continue reshaping how this financial machine operates, hopefully trending toward greater transparency and fairness. Whether those reforms genuinely materialize remains to be seen, but informed fan pressure has historically played a role in driving institutional change. The 2026 World Cup will generate unprecedented revenue, and how that revenue gets used will shape football's future for generations to come. If this video helped you understand the hidden financial machine behind the World Cup, make sure you subscribe. For more deep football analysis, drop a comment below and tell us which part of this financial story surprised you the most. While watching this video, share this video with a friend who loves football, because understanding these hidden economics helps every fan appreciate the sport more deeply. See you in the next video where we uncover another hidden story behind the biggest tournament in football history. Until next time, keep watching closely, because behind every goal celebration lies a financial story most fans never fully see. Stay curious, stay informed, and keep questioning the numbers behind the beautiful game we all love watching together with friends and family everywhere.